Good afternoon, welcome. I'm Township Manager Steve Mountain. It's my pleasure to have the mic to kind of MC things today. I'm going to start with some introductions and then we'll get into our program. First, I'd like to introduce the councilmen and women who are with me today, starting with Councilman Mark Forsenhausler, Councilman Jim Lovies, Councilman Luna Zabaccia, Councilman Marie Potter, Councilman Lance Tax, Deputy Mayor Joanne VEECH, and Mayor CAREY. And just so you don't think I'm ignoring the other folks that are here, I want to leave that for the mayor. She's going to be introducing our other dignitaries that are with us, so please don't feel that I'm forgetting them. The first item on our program today is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to invite VFW Commander Scott Montanio to the mic to lead us with the pledge.
Let's all please face flag, which is right behind you. Detail, attention. Present arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, and indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, arms.
I'm now honored to introduce local resident Brian Noonan, who will be singing our national anthem. You may know Brian from Brian Loves Randolph, a new program that he's put together on Facebook. It really is a fantastic item that presents some of the best parts of our community. And unbeknownst to me, he's also a singer, and is going to be doing us the honor of singing the national anthem. Brian?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
When we were sitting around the table at the community center, now probably going on 4 or 5 years ago, you know, I think if we closed our eyes and pictured what we have here today, this would have been what we'd hoped, maybe without the mass, but with everything else, we would absolutely have welcomed this beautiful day, the community coming together, and obviously a beautiful park to be celebrating. Today's dedication, as I said, spans back several years. It started with the Township Council, which preceded several of the members that are standing behind me, as well as my predecessor, John Lovell, who's here today. John, I don't know if you can wave your hand. You're somewhere in the crowd. There he is at the back. The council and John at that time had the vision to acquire the land on which we're standing as open space, with the view that one day it would be a park like the one we're standing in. It was a complex and creative acquisition, and we should all be appreciative of these individuals' efforts to have had the foresight to put together that deal. The work continued with the current council and several council members who are not with us today, who left the council over the last several years as we were planning the park, and many members of the community. And I know the mayor is going to touch on the process, so I'm going to try not to step on her toes too much and get into too many details. But the group really worked hard to not only collect the ideas and the input of the community and make sure it was represented, but also to ensure that we executed it in a way that everybody would be proud of. And there's a number of people that should be recognized for this effort. Some of them are professionals, some are here with us today, some are not. Some are volunteers. I'm hopefully not going to do anyone a disservice and miss anyone, but I'd like to just kind of go down the list very quickly and recognize a few people. First, I'd like to recognize Dennis Keenan and his staff from French and Perillo. They're our design engineer, did a fantastic job of being the professional lead. Dennis, I'm not sure if Dennis is here. I didn't see him earlier, but he really was the creative force behind the park, taking all of our lay people's ideas and putting it into an actual plan. Paul Ferrero and his staff from Ferrero Engineering for their input throughout the design and construction of the project and the general oversight of the project. I don't know if Paul's here. Darren Carney, who I know is not here, our planning and zoning administrator, my assistant, who did a lot of behind-the-scenes work on the park design. Russ Newman and his staff of the Recreation Department for their input and support of the project from design to completion. Russ is here, and many of his staff are here. And they will continue to shepherd over this wonderful park now that it's in play. I didn't see him, but he may have slipped in. Our contractor, Pete Rochelle from Rochelle Contracting, was the contractor who finished the park. Many of you may have known we started the park with a different contractor who unfortunately had financial difficulties. We were fortunate that through our efforts to secure the bond and put those monies that the bond company that supported the prior contractor into the final work that had to go into the park, and Pete Rochelle and his group came in and did a fantastic job and finished the park that you see here today. I also see in the crowd Darren Maloney, our CFO. You can't miss him. He's the tall guy right here. He handled the behind-the-scenes financing for the project, so we appreciate that. And then lastly, I would like to ask that the volunteers who are with us from the Township Parks and Recreation Committees, as well as the Park Master Plan, Park Steering Committee, Trails Committee, if you could all wave your hands. I see all of you out there. I don't have the time to list all of you, but one thing about Randolph is we are blessed with so many wonderful volunteers. And these individuals spend countless hours of their personal time working on projects and ideas for the betterment of the community. And all of these people who what you just saw wave are part of that group, and we really appreciate everything that you do for us. I'm now going to stop my remarks, as I know the mayor will be covering some of the same ground, and I don't want to cover any more of it. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic over to Mayor Carey.
And we're really, really thankful and grateful to all of you. And I'm so happy to be here today for the dedication of Veterans Community Park. It's really a great day for Randolph. It's a great day to celebrate this new, beautiful addition to our community. And it's really amazing to see the end result after spending several years of planning and looking at sketches and concept plans. I don't have a great imagination, so I can't really figure it out until I see it. So I wanted to talk about a couple of things that got us where we are today, just to really emphasize maybe 2 points. So this beautiful facility is really the result of great planning and community input. So way back in 2014, the council recognized that the needs of the Randolph community were changing, and that they had changed since the last Parks and Recreation Master Plan was developed in 2004. So the council directed that we undertake a comprehensive process, and we assess the needs of the community, and we come up with a new 10-year master plan looking forward 10 years. So we hired a consultant, and we put together a committee, and I did happen to be on that committee. We met regularly, and we spent over 18 months putting together the plan. But one of the first things we decided was it wasn't going to be the ideas of just the people sitting around the table. We said we really, really need community input. And not just a little, we wanted extensive community input. And actually, if you look at the binder of the final report, it was called a citizen-driven plan. We conducted in-depth information gathering process that included, first of all, a kickoff meeting, and then we had meetings with more than 40 different stakeholder groups. They included businesses and scouts and student groups, athletic groups, representatives from all over the community. We also did an online survey that over 600 residents responded to. We sent out a mail survey and we got responses back from 520 households. And then final recommendations were presented, and the council in July of 2016 adopted the final Parks and Recreation Plan, which, as I said, gave a vision for the community for the next 10 years. And a major focus of that master plan was the development of a new park on Calais Road, designed to encourage residents to gather and interact. And based on that input from the community envisioned what we see here today: a band shell with a great lawn for hosting community events, surrounded by a quarter-mile lit paved trail walking track, a community garden behind me, pickleball courts, a paved third-of-a-mile path connecting the park to the Randolph Trail system, picnic pavilion and grills, gazebo, restrooms, parking, and other features planned for the future. And as you can see, all of this was accomplished, and we see the beautiful results today. The other point I wanted to talk about was the cost. Now, we knew we had a solid plan for the park, but another major aspect, of course, would be how much would it cost. So the good news is that this park was funded through the Randolph's Open Space and Recreation Trust Fund. So we did not have any new tax impact on residents. Back in the early 90s, there were apparently a lot of really smart people living in Randolph, and they were very forward-thinking, and they wanted to preserve the rural nature of the community. So they approved 2 referendums, and the first one established an open space trust fund to support the purchase of open space. The second one formed the Parks Trust Fund to support the building and ongoing maintenance and improvements to our park system. But then in 2009, there was a third referendum, and it really combined the 2 trust funds into a single one. And it's called the Open Space and Recreation Trust Fund, which is what we have today. So through prudent fiscal management, of which we are all very proud, we're able to build this park and implement the 10-year Parks Master Plan from that Open Space and Recreation Trust Fund. So that was more good news. Once we had the plan for the park, we needed a name for it. So again, we went out to the community and asked for their input. And we did an online survey, and residents selected the name Veterans Community Park. And I'm very happy to honor our veterans in this way. As you can see, in your program, the plaque that we're going to see shortly says, "Thanks to the service of our veterans, all members of our community have the freedom to enjoy this park." So that message will be here permanently, and it will serve as an ongoing reminder to everyone who visits this park of the debt that we owe these heroes. There is one special hero who's not with us today, and we're going to be walking over shortly to see a bench in his honor. So I just wanted to talk about that for a minute. His name is Jack Sassman, who passed away unexpectedly in May. And Jack, a lot of you knew Jack. He was a husband, a father, a grandfather, a U.S. Army veteran who served in Vietnam. He was a patriot and a friend, and he was a Randolph community volunteer. He touched many lives, and he made a positive impact on the Randolph community. Jack was really committed to ensuring that all veterans are respected for their service and are recognized for the sacrifices that they and their loved ones make on behalf of our country. He was the face of the VFW Post 7333 in Randolph for, I think, over 20 years. And he is credited really with revitalizing the Post when he joined. The membership was kind of dwindling, and he made it his mission to recruit and bring in more veterans. He also negotiated the sale of the VFW building to the Randolph Township in return for lifetime occupancy of the lower level by post 7333. I had the privilege of writing an article, a column for Randolph Neighbors magazine about the VFW post 7333 back in April, and I sent it to Commander Montano to take a look at before I sent it to the magazine, and he sent it to Jack to read. And when I got it back, it was kind of funny because one whole paragraph had been deleted, and that was the paragraph I had written about Jack and everything he had done for the VFW, and he just redlined it completely out. So I didn't want to go against his wishes, so I did leave it out, but I kind of regret that. So we miss Jack, and we're very proud of him, and we're very proud to dedicate this very first bench in the park to him. So I want to thank everybody for coming today to celebrate with us. We have other speakers to tell you about Randolph's history, the community garden, the time capsule, but I would like to introduce 3 other elected officials who took time out of their schedule to visit with us today. And a couple of them would like to say a few words. The first one is Senator Anthony BUCCO.
And servicemen and women that are here today, thank you for your service. And as you look around at the beauty that surrounds this park and the beauty of this park, it is so fitting that the township chose the name Veterans Community Park. This park is clearly going to be the centerpiece of the community. With the facilities that are here, the community will have a chance to come and enjoy so many different activities. And that's what our country has been built on. That's what our municipalities thrive for, is to have a place for the community to enjoy each other and to enjoy the beauty that surrounds the areas in which they live. So I commend the mayor and the township council and all of the volunteers and our veterans that made today possible, because this is truly going to be one of the gems of Randolph. And your foresight to put this together certainly says a lot about the quality of the individuals that are representing you here in Randolph, and I'm honored to be here and honored to support them and you as well. God bless you.
Today we have freeholder John KRIKKUS, and there he is, and freeholder Steve Shaw. I think freeholder Shaw is going to make a few comments.
Thank you, Mayor. And freeholder KRIKKUS is a vet as well, Marine. So thank you for your service. Wow, speechless. I grew up in Morris County, and my dad used to say living in Morris County is like being on vacation 365 days a year. Now that was one way he got out of taking us on vacation, but it really is true. And it really hit home this season with the pandemic. My family did a staycation right in Morris County, spent 6 days traveling through the #1 park system in New Jersey, through our county parks combined with all of our municipal parks. But I must say, and I've been through this entire county, I mean, this is one incredible facility. And facilities like this don't get built without the leadership from the mayor and the council and the administration and all the volunteers. So you are to be commended for that. My role on the County Freeholder Board, one of them is liaison to the Planning and Preservation, which manages our open space program, which has been very, very successful, and one of the reasons why Morris County is the #1 county in the state. We have a phenomenal amount of open space. That program's been around for 26 years, but it was modified back in 2014 to include trails. And there was a small component here of the county trail system. There was an $88,000 grant for the trail that connects from here to Adobe Road, I believe it is. So the trail program, it's only been going since 2016. This was actually the first grant year of that program. We have awarded $2.7 million in trail dollars and built 14 miles of trails in Morris County. So glad to be a part of that and have that a part of this phenomenal facility. And once again, I do want to thank our vets, because we would not be able to stand here today without our vets and actually all the men and women that are serving around the globe in the armed forces. Thank you.
Next on our program, we've invited Township Historian Gail Harry to make a few remarks on the history of this property. Gail, if you'd like to join me up here.
At Freedom Park. I was asked by our Director of Parks and Recreation, Russ Newman, to provide some historical background of our new Veterans Community Park here on Kelly Road. I would like to start first with the meaning of the word veteran. The dictionary describes a veteran a few ways. Number one, a person who has had the same job, membership, or residence for a long time. Number two, a person who is exceptionally skilled at a specified activity, for example, a veteran fisherman. And number three, a person who has served in the military. Please remember those descriptions because they all apply to our township's history here. The first inhabitants on this land were the Lenape indigenous Americans. Each of their clan was identified by an animal totem of their forest environment. The clan who lived on this land called themselves Mincy, which means people of stony country and members of the Wolf clan. The Mincy village in Randolph was located where we're standing today, a village they named Mercatawango, which was documented on April 9th, 1715 in the Journal of Surveyor John Redding. The village was central to waterways that surrounded it, including the Black River, the Lamington River, the India Brook, Dawson's Brook, Lake Cherokee, Canterbury Lake, Bryant's Pond, and Posner's Pond. During the 19th century, the Mincy people relocated out further west. But until that time, the Mincy Wolf clan were veterans of the village here on Kelly Road. Another historical aspect regarding this area is documented in the 1853 Shields map of Morris County from the original surveys for Randolph, as well as the 1868 Beers Atlas and the 1887 Robinson's Atlas of Morris County. The ownership was a farmer and a blacksmith, Mr. Isaiah Comeback. Next to where his home is shown on the maps and atlases are the letters BSS, an abbreviation for blacksmith shop. Mr. Comeback was a highly respected Randolph resident who also worked part-time as the township census taker. Mr. Comeback passed away in 1904, but he was a veteran of his skill, a blacksmith. Like most rural towns from the 1700s through the 1900s, Randolph's farming roots run generations deep, with acres of fertile soil under the various historical ownerships. The title search shared with me by Darren Carney documents this parkland is the former property of Daniel P. Mershon, also noted on the 1853 Shields map, the 1868 Beers Atlas, and this property also belonged to Samuel Bryan, who purchased the land in 1779. One notable from the Bryan family was Derastus L. Bryan, who produced his famous Applejack recipe, also known as Jersey Lightning, from the acres of apple orchards on the family farm. The title search also revealed that Dr. Duncan Albert Doby, spelled with an I-E, purchased the property in 1909. He then married Clara Jean Blackwell, kin to another well-known farmer on Park Avenue, Corson Albertson. There was a fence line between Clara's property at the time of the title search, which separated her land from another notable resident, Harry Messer. Another noteworthy owner was Nathan Rosenfarb, who came to the United States in 1900. The 1910 census documents he owned his Randolph farm at 36 years old and lived with his wife Sarah, their 2 children, and 17-year-old brother. Now, the 1930 census notes the Rosenfarb property was worth $10,000, which was unheard of because that was just 1 year after the Great Depression of 1929. It's plain to see the historic role that this land has had for veteran farmers as an important social and economic base in this community. And finally, there are many citizens of Randolph Township who served in branches of the military, buried in cemeteries around the township, including Walnut Grove Baptist Cemetery and Walnut Grove Methodist Cemetery on West Hanover Avenue, Millbrook Methodist Cemetery on Millbrook Avenue, Mount Freedom's Hebrew Cemetery on South Road, the Friends Cemetery on Quaker Church Road, and Mount Freedom Cemetery on Sussex Turnpike. These citizens served during the Revolutionary War, the war between the states, as well as the Spanish-American War and World Wars I and II. These veterans paid the ultimate price. The following words are inscribed on a wall at the United Nations Plaza, quoting the Bible at Isaiah chapter 2, verse 4. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. I look forward to that fulfillment of that prophecy someday. But on this very momentous day, we dedicate a wonderful park on very historic land, which will provide all of our citizens many beautiful acres of amenities and recreation that will not only bring personal enjoyment and provide a sense of public pride, but also bring a cohesiveness to strengthen our great and diverse Randolph community. I thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce Deputy Mayor JOANNE VEECH for some brief remarks about the community garden that's right here behind us.
Welcome everyone to this fabulous new park, and a special thanks to our veterans for our freedom to enjoy it. One feature of this park is our community garden, which started as an idea 9 years ago. My sincere thanks go out to the many volunteers and our committee members that worked on getting this park open. And I know the 168 gardeners and their families thank you as well. It has truly been a labor of love. Russ, Steve, and Mike, thanks for helping us and listening as we push to have our garden open this past spring. Thank you. So, this municipality community garden is the largest in the state. Yep, and we are presently sold out. We have a waiting list. And to those of you that wish to join us, please visit our township website and sign up on the waiting list, or go over here behind me to the gates, and you can sign up there after this dedication. And if anyone is interested in a tour of the garden, we love giving tours. Our committee and garden coordinator will be at the garden gates to show you around. In closing, this garden provides solace to many in need of a place to come and retreat from this crazy world. It brings our community together in ways that no one expected. People have made new friends and are sharing their lives and hopes as they work on their gardens. May it be used for great intentions and be here for years to come. Thank you.
Marie Potter, who's going to talk a little bit about the time capsule, which we'll be burying on this site, not today, but very shortly after today's ceremony, and a lot of work has gone into that, and she's going to give us a brief overview of that project.
First of all, I'd like to invite the Time Capsule Committee to come on up to the podium, or to the parking spot, whatever pleasure, to be opened in 25 years. I'd like to introduce Joe Farinetta, representing Board of Education, Janet McMillan, Trails. Walter Nickens is not here, but he's representing Environmental and Landmarks. Travis Ruffalo, representing Parks, and Danielle Solidari, Director of Elementary Education. So everyone says, so what's in the time capsule? So some of the things are a little bit of a surprise for the 25-year unveiling, but I'll go through some of the highlights of what we have in there. Of course, we had to put a face mask, a homemade one by Councilwoman Potter. Directions how to make a homemade mask from Morristown Memorial. Of course, we had to put a roll of toilet paper. We put some newspapers from today. We put some menus from local restaurants in there. We have a letter from the council to the Council of 2045. We have our annual report, our 2020 event calendar. Of course, many events were canceled off that calendar. We have a current trail map. We have a great flash drive from second graders of 2020. They put a lot of work into videos and documenting their experience during COVID, and we have that in there. We have a letter from the Board of Ed President from 2020 to the Board of Ed President of 2045, and the class president from Randolph High School wrote a letter to the class president of Randolph High School 2045, and there is a yearbook from the graduating class of 2020. One of the other things that we put in was a letter from our time capsule. So I'm just going to read it to you. When our time capsule committee gathered first in 2019, we were excited to place a memento for you all in our brand new park, Veterans Community Park, on its opening day. We had no idea 2020 would have such a historical significance. Although many of the items relate to the COVID-19 pandemic that we all had to endure, we also wanted to include how our community came together during this year. Many of our residents started sewing homemade masks for each other. We food shopped for our elderly. Randolph Girl Scout troops sent boxes of Girl Scout cookies to Morristown Hospital. We formed Facebook pages to volunteer to help each other. We bought takeout food from our local restaurants to support our first responders and did countless other good deeds to take care of our community. Every Randolph event was canceled for months. No parties, no sports, no gatherings. Even though we had to social distance to slow the spread of the virus, we actively joined together and became a strong community. Our wish for you, Randolph residents of 2045, is to continue to take care of each other, volunteer, take care of your most vulnerable, love one another. The 2020 Randolph Time Capsule Committee. And as Manager Mountain had mentioned, we're not really putting it in for the next couple days, so I wanted to take a panoramic of you all waving hello to the residents of 2045. If you would just go like that, and I will take your photo.
I'd like to call back Commander Montanio, who is going to introduce us on the rifle salute that we're about to engage in.
VFW, we would like to offer a rifle salute to all veterans who have fought defending this flag over here. So please join us. Cover your ears if you have sensitive ears. It may be a little... Forward! Safety is off! Ready! Hey! Fire! Hey! Fire! Hey! Fire! Freeze it! Forward!
Unveil!
Right here is on the table. The time capsule is right here. Obviously, again, it will be a few more items that will get put in, and that will be buried at a later date, but you can take a look and see what will be on top of it. They have put together this beautiful bench, and I'm actually going to turn it over. I'm not sure, Scott, if you're going to take the lead or if again, in this case, it's a very special one, and again, I'm going to turn it over to the commander and then anyone else who's going to speak on behalf of the VFW.
Thank you. I would first like to welcome and thank the family and friends of Jack and the SASSAMAN family for joining us in this dedication. I would like to thank those who put together this event to honor our veterans, Jack in particular. I've only been to one other bench dedication, which was Pete Knoth, who is one of the founders of the Randolph VFW. Jack and I attended that dedication together, where we told funny memories of Pete afterward. I encourage everyone who knew Jack to do the same in his memory. There is no more appropriate place to honor and memorialize a man who has dedicated the past 20 plus years of his life caring for, honoring, and memorializing our local veterans. Jack was the type of veteran whose dedication and enthusiasm for our organization was contagious. Everyone who knew Jack knew he had a particular way of doing things, which eventually turned into what we referred to as Jackisms. You may know some of his famous mantras, such as, if at first you don't succeed, quit. Or the contradictory version of that, if you want something done right, do it yourself. which Jack often did. I would like to share a quick story of how I knew Jack and how it brought me to this moment today. Nearly 15 years ago, upon my return from my second combat tour, I visited the SASSAMAN residence as I often did when I returned home for a long weekend. Jack's son Jeff and I grew up together, meeting in the second grade of Center Grove Elementary School. I had been over their house countless times through the years, and I had really only known Jack as Jeff's dad. Well, Jeff's dad took me aside on this particular visit and asked me, "So are you ready?" I looked at Jack confused and replied, "For what?" As he responded, his face lit up with that smile he would give you when he knew you were going to do what he was asking of you, whether you knew it or not. Jack said, "Are you ready to join the VFW?" And before I could shrug my shoulders and offer my response of, "Sure," Jack had a membership form in hand, completely filled out, just waiting for my signature. That was the second time I signed on a dotted line and had no clue what I was getting into. The first time sent me to boot camp. Jack was thrilled to have landed a young vet because he knew the VFW was in membership decline. He felt if he could mentor some younger vets, the VFW would have a future. I happened to be one of those vets that Jack mentored, and I could not be more honored to be here holding his torch and carrying on in his memory. Many of the members of our VFW can credit Jack for bringing them into our organization, and unfortunately, I'm no longer the youngest vet. We have struggled over the past several months figuring out everything Jack had been doing for our VFW post. We had all been complacent because Jack was doing everything his way, which meant everything was running smoothly. We, as the Randolph Veterans of Foreign War, can only hope to accomplish for this organization as much as Jack has and will continue in that effort in his memory. Thank you.